People have a love affair with historic trains, and to be pulled by a 100-year-old steam engine over these beautiful, spectacular mountain passes is an experience that you just can't find anywhere else.
Alamosa is a town that was founded in 1878, started just a wide spot on the river.
I'm Deborah Goodman. I'm the Executive Director of the Alamosa Convention and Visitors Bureau. I always think of Alamosa as back in the days of the porch swing, because there's just this wonderful sentiment and energy flowing from people that's, everybody's a friend, everybody's a neighbor, and everybody's welcome.
We have tremendous heritage when it goes back to the history of their families that came to the valley many, many, many years ago. And San Luis, the oldest town in the state of Colorado, just 50 miles away from us.
And when you go to San Luis, you feel like you're in 16th century Spain. So it's not all just collected in museums, it's still a way of life. So when you come to the San Luis Valley, you experience cultural heritage just by being here, because it lives on, it's going on around you, and it's everywhere you look, and you really get to feel the history of our state. The mighty Rio Grande flows the headwaters are right here in the San Luis Valley, and the river flows right across the valley and on down into New Mexico. And that in and of itself is such a wonderful thing, because it's been such a subject of so many stories. And of course it winds through several communities and tells its tale as it goes by. We have actually two scenic and historic byways designated by the state, the Los Caminos Antiguos Scenic and Historic Byway and the Silver Thread. And the Los Caminos really travels you through the cultural heritage area that really shows off that Spanish heritage. And one of the highlights, though, along the Los Caminos is actually the Manassa Mauler, if that rings a bell for anybody. That's Jack Dempsey. His home is in Manassa. The largest attraction for visitors that come to the San Luis Valley and Alamosa in particular is definitely the Great Sand Dunes National Park. After the Great Sand Dunes, of course, is our two historic railroads. The emotions that we have around our historic trains, it's one of the strongest emotions that I've witnessed. We've got the Cumbres and Toltec Scenic Railroad going from Antonito to Chama, and that is considered the most authentic of the historic railroads, pulled by steam. It's narrow gauge on the old original rail lines. And then in 2005, the Rio Grande Scenic Railroad opened up for passengers, and that train travels over La Vida Pass. That's some of the most remote country in the state, and you can't really get to that country even by hiking. There's not even trails.
My name is John Brandt. I'm a member of the board of the San Luis Valley Museum. The display in front of you here is probably, from my standpoint, one of the most valuable exhibits we have here, because it has the entire buckskin costume of famous frontiersman and Indian fighter Tom Tobin, who was a contemporary of Kit Carson's. This was the last hereditary chief of the youth that lived in this area, Buckskin Charlie. The uniforms are obviously identification, Air Force, Army, Navy, and so on. And this uniform belonged to my wife, Dorothy. This is just a very small portion of what we would be able to put on display in a natural history museum. These are some of the oldest known arrowheads from North America. In the 20s and 30s, we had a very, very large Japanese community here. Late Judge Myers was district judge here. He was digging in his garden and he found this pearl handle 6-shooter. And he thought, wouldn't it be fun if this thing could talk? Like, no one would have thrown away a pearl handle 6-shooter. How did it get into my garden? These are the things that you would see on display in a typical frontier mercantile store. This dollhouse was donated to us by Nancy Fernandez from Alamosa. But look at the beautiful miniature workmanship. When we're all long gone, at least some of those things will be preserved so the children of the future can see what is in this museum and say, this is what our forefathers did, where they came from, what they made to make the community that we live in now that we call Alamosa, Colorado.